Hi, welcome Monica, welcome Robbie.
Hi.
So great to be here. I'm so excited to be there in person soon.
Yes, thanks for joining us. Well, for everyone watching, I'm Sarah Sumbrum. I'm the Artistic Director at Dance Cleveland. And today I'm joined by Zoom by the amazing Monica Bill Barnes, Artistic Director, Choreographer, and Performer for Monica Bill Barnes Dance Company, as well as Robbie, her artistic partner. Robbie Saenz de Viteri is the writer and artistic collaborator for The Running Show, which is the piece that we will be premiering here in Akron, Ohio. And Robbie and Monica, thanks for joining us.
It's our pleasure.
So Monica, you have been called one of the most influential people in dance today by Dance Magazine. And I think that is very fitting for you.
That's a really generous thing to say.
Well, you're certainly known for taking modern dance and creating a creative and humorous approach to what you do. We last had the company here in Cleveland with Anna Bass and Ira Glass in your piece, 3 Acts, 2 Dancers, 1 Radio Host. That was back in 2017 at Playhouse Square for those who were in the audience. But people raved about the work and it was so humorous and fun. This time, we're bringing you back to Akron rather than Cleveland. And you'll be hosting a full week-long residency with the University of Akron dance students. And along with that, you guys will be premiering your new piece, The Running Show. So this is going to be unlike anything we've done with the University of Akron before. The students are actually going to be part of the work. And we're so excited to hear more about that. Would you like to start by telling us a little bit about the work and what inspired you to create this piece?
Robbie, do you want to go first?
No.
This is where we look at each other on Zoom.
No, I think you should start. Yeah, that would be great.
Well, I mean, truthfully, as you said, like this is something that you haven't done with the University of Akron. This is something that we've been making the show for 4 years. Obviously, we took a break, as we all did, and haven't been performing or touring. So this is something that we're so thrilled to do, you know, really for the first time, and understand how this idea functions. I mean, so much of what Robbie and I felt really compelled to do was to create a show that we could bring local performers ranging in age from 12 to 84, like just this incredible breadth of dancers from all ages, and make them an integral part of the show in just 5 days. And it took us about, I mean, it really took us like years to develop a show in which this felt possible. So we had the opportunity to workshop the show in so many different cities and with different universities. And we really feel like we've created a structure that is, that will allow the audience to really see what it's like to be a dancer at all of these stages in your life, at all of these different decades. And the show really honors that choice, that decision to really make dance central in your life. And then and so Robbie, I'm like slowly heading it over to you, but that we've then sort of tried to create a frame and a context which would welcome somebody who doesn't come and see dance shows. I feel like so much of my desire to work with Ira Glass was to bring audiences to a show that wouldn't necessarily be coming to see just a dance show, but that we were, you know, they were coming to a really different experience. And The Running Show is similarly, you know, it's got a lot of dance in it, but it's really far from being a traditional dance show, because of how we're asking the audience to engage with movement and with dancers, treating them as athletes as well. Robbie, that's my like soft pitch over.
Yeah, Robbie, if you want to elaborate more on like how you work together. I mean, obviously you're the writer, you narrate the show on stage, so in a sense you're also a performer. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think so much of the inspiration for the show originally came from just talking a lot about sportscasters and these narrative devices that we have when we're fans watching a sports game. You know, you hear someone's backstory, you hear about their injuries. There's this sense of drama to them even just walking out onto the field. And I think, you know, we wanted to steal that and to use that for dance. You know, I think so often you go to see a dance performance and you might not even really find out the names of the performers. And in this show, I think, you know, actually individualizing everyone on stage and giving the audience a sense of their story and who they are and where they are at this moment in their lives is all sort of in service of creating an event that feels more like a sports game, but probably like a minor league sports game, not really like a very professional level one, on stage. And to have people invest in dance in the same way that you do when you're like watching a game at home on your TV, you know, that you feel like just really pulled towards it, you know, and you feel really like that there's a sense of something like an event, you don't know exactly how it's going to go, and there's a sense of drama to that, I think, that we really love with this show.
Yeah, no, I love it. And I mean, you guys use so much humor throughout the entire piece. I think one of my favorite parts is you have, like, you know, this voiceover of a little girl and she's talking about how she's been training her whole life. And then I think, Robbie, you asked, you know, well, how old are you? And she's like, 4.
Yeah.
You know, completely straight faced and
Yeah.
dedicated to her answer. So it's fun to hear that. You know, the sports element is different. Do you think that there, you know, were pieces of research that you had to do to incorporate that into both the choreography as well as the written sections?
Certainly not research. I mean, it's interesting. I feel like, and Robbie actually says this at one point in the show, when I started making movement for this show, we were, oftentimes I feel like we're making a show in response to the show that we just made.
Okay.
And so we had made a show that had a lot of like gesture in it, felt very personable, felt very like character based. And so the movement for this show was just really like kind of grueling and repetitive and honestly like kind of boring. Like I felt like I mean, I think I even said when I first shared the material, like, I don't know that like any of this is ever going to be really interesting to watch, but there was a certain kind of a real athleticism and a sort of trying to like understand like physical limitation. Um, and so I think in some ways the Robbie was, I mean, I feel like you were responding to like what would make this interesting. I mean, sort of similar to like, you know, watching swimming in the Olympics. Like, I think it's sort of a miracle of like writing and performing that we can get interested in seeing somebody just swim. Like, you know, like there's nothing sort of interesting.
Sure.
Gymnastics is easy, you know, but like swimming, like we're really going to just like sit down and cheer and watch swimming because it's so repetitive. And I think in some ways that I feel like, you know, Robbie, you were responding to some of the sort of like the athleticism of those initial ideas. And then what happens so often in our work is that, you know, one of us offers something and then one of us responds to that, and then we respond to the response, that, you know, it all sort of takes on like a becomes a part of a layered conversation. But I think, I don't know, so much of the movement was just ridiculously hard for no reason, except for that it was a contrast from what we were currently performing.
And I think when you say, you know, the repetitive nature of the movement, it becomes almost mesmerizing. I think as an audience member, you get invested, like, well, how long can she do this? You know, how long can these dancers do this? And I think that's what it's very similar when we watch sports, you know, where it's a repetitive motion, but we're invested and we're cheering them on. So I know that when you're on stage dancing, Monica, everyone will be in the audience cheering you and the rest of the UA dancers on, because UA dancers will be part of this program. Can you tell us a little bit about that process? So you'll be auditioning them. What is something that you look for in a performer or a dancer that you'll be looking for the UA students to bring to the table when they audition?
You know, it's so interesting. This is going to be like such an unexpected answer, but honestly, the ability and willingness to commit to a really intense schedule and process. And I think that's something that I feel like defines like artists in America right now. Like, is sort of the ability to just like really show up. I mean, we ask a lot of these dancers, um, and oftentimes it's not. We end up being really drawn to the dancers who just want to be there. You can really feel that, and really want to give. I don't know, give this process time and priority in their life. And Robbie's interviewing all of the dancers, and it's so interesting, like what ends up being a part of the show, and things that the dancers have said, like that, the dancer that, 4-year-old, that we reveal so much about ourselves in the way that we, that in the way that you hear the dancers answer the questions. I mean, Robbie's asking what feel like very sort of simple questions, but lead to such self-revealing answers about, the nature of dancers, and of committing yourself to something that is just rigorous and repetitive. I mean, that's just a truth about dance. So I think more than like any particular skill set or, technique or technical ability, that we're really looking for for hardworking dancers who feel like they can really, not only can, but are interested in just spending a week of like real effort
Yeah.
with us, and a certain openness, because the show really asks them, as Robbie's saying, like, so often you go to a dance show and you'll read the cast, but you don't know who's who in the cast. And there's just a way in which dancers are often anonymous. And this show really asks dancers to be individuals. And I think we are even looking for that in the audition. And truthfully, people that we want to spend a week with.
Sure.
Too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think you're right. I think, in going back to the sports analogy, we hear so much about sports figures, and we get their background story, and we know who they're dating. We know who, it's like all this celebrity stuff that when you think about dancers, they're training just as hard, if not harder, but we never really get that. We never really understand that side of them, which makes it sometimes hard for the public to connect to. So with that said, can each of you share something maybe small about yourselves that, obviously your passion is dance and art, but what's something else that maybe someone might want to get to know about you, a different passion or interest that you have?
That's a great question.
Yeah. That's the kind of question that I should answer first, so that Monica can take her time to really prepare her answer. I always turn off my self view, so now I have to like make sure you can you see my bicycle there?
I was gonna say, I see your bicycle. Yes.
Yeah. So I live in New York. I live in Brooklyn. I live in a particular neighborhood called Greenpoint, which is the north part of Brooklyn, and we don't have a lot of subways in Greenpoint, so I pretty much bike everywhere that I go, even when it's raining. Like I think today it's raining, and right after this, I'm gonna hop on my bike and bike for about 4 miles to go to rehearsal. And it's just a way of living in the city that is really essential to me. I mean, it feels like, there's so much about it that I really love. And I feel like it's really interesting to be in a dance company. I have no dance background. I come from a theater background. This is the first time I've ever been in a dance company. I'm constantly just very gracious that they let me sit at the sidelines of it. And I show up at rehearsal completely drenched in sweat, and then I sit, and then I leave rehearsal and I get incredibly sweaty. So it's I feel like I get to live the dancer's life the tiniest bit, and the amount of sweat I bring to rehearsal. But it's also just like, I don't know. I mean, I think it's taught me so much. It's interesting to me about how much moving, I think we have a real funny Western idea that like we move and we think, and that those are two separate things. But I think that biking for me is often a moment when I'm just really thinking. And I feel like I see that in our dance rehearsals so much, that oddly, like moving unlocks some feeling or some thought that you have been struggling with and you couldn't really get past until you started moving.
Mm-hmm. No, that's a really good point. I mean, I think some people even feel that when they're driving in the car. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not necessarily a physical action in the same sense, but that movement, you know, thinking when you're moving, there's something about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. Monica, how about you? I know you are very dedicated to dance and to, you know, your physical health, but could you share a little bit about yourself?
Well, it's interesting. I was working on one idea, but then got really taken, Robbie, with what you're saying. I mean, I think the thing that it's so interesting. I grew up, my dad is a runner and he would run marathons,
Hmm.
and he's also a minister, and he would understand or figure out or write most of his sermons while he was running. Um, and I just really appreciate, it's so true, Robbie. I think what you're saying about like moving really allows you to think and feel and sort of comprehend in a different way. So I also, you know, was a runner, and, you know, grew up, and I think in some ways I'm an only child, and I feel like um, my dad might have just missed the tiniest bit that I wasn't a boy, and really we spent a lot of time playing football, which I was never very good at. But I do feel like there's something about how much time my dad and I spent playing and running and being physical, and like not in a gentle way, that is so that so defines sort of who I am as a person and as an art maker. And that sort of like very early experience of challenging your body and really feeling I don't know, feeling capable and secure in your own ability to be physical and to, you know, get hurt and to get back up. I mean, I feel like that was you know, um, a bit of a repetitive mantra that I would get pushed down, and he'd be like, all right, let's get back up. And I just felt like, I don't know that we're really evenly matched here, but that's maybe another part of the story. But yeah, I really yeah, I really feel like I learned so much from my dad, from seeing him run marathons and just being
Well, it's
physical.
fitting then that the piece is the running show. I mean, I don't know that that connection was actually a planned connection right there, but that's a great story, and I think everyone can relate to that, you know. So obviously, this is going to be, you've been working on this for a long time, this piece. It was supposed to premiere at American Dance Festival before COVID. I do want to note that. And we're so honored to have it in here in Northeast Ohio, but just a lot of planning that goes on. Trying to do a premiere during COVID, it may have looked very different than what you initially intended. So could you talk about that process a little bit and how we've been working through that together to figure out how to safely put the show back on the stage?
Yeah. I mean, such a huge piece of it, just to say, is just your desire to do it is so huge to us. I mean, it feels like of the past year and a half of working, I think that's been almost the hardest part to manage. Is like people aren't, you know, understandably just asking you to work in the same way, because you work in the live performing arts, and the people that have stepped forward and said, can you do something, whether it's make this small video or can you come on your first tour in a year and a half like you guys are asking us to do, feels like just such a huge necessary piece of it. I mean, um, without that, if it was just sort of us deciding to do something on our own, I think we would doubt and question the need and the safety and the risk of that so much. So the fact that you guys want to do it and that people want to see it is such a huge piece of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. And as Robbie's saying, just not to feel alone in how to move forward. I think it's been such a long pause that we've all taken in the field. And I think that trying to understand what sort of environments are going to feel good for the performers, what environments are going to feel good to welcome an audience, you know, that these are just really hard questions. And I feel, I mean, we feel so good about how we're moving forward in this, and that, you know, it's something that is bringing us just so much joy to be able to do this part of our lives that is so central to who we are. Um, and we really just, we feel like it's just been such a good conversation. And as you know, and it's been going for months. I mean, I think it's really fair to say, you know, I think all of the complications really speak to the care that everybody, you know, in the University of Akron has, you know, we've been in so many different versions of one way to work depending on what happens next. And, you know, we're all adjusting. And I think luckily, as people in the arts, we're, you know, we're really adaptable and creative people. So we're figuring it out. But I think what Robbie's saying is so true. I mean, we just feel so grateful that you all have decided to find a way forward when so many people are still just pausing. And it's certainly understandable, but it also feels like it's never going to be easy to come back. So we're just really looking forward to
We're
it.
excited to have you. This will actually mark, it's our 65th anniversary here at Dance Cleveland. And it will mark our first in-theater performance of the season. So it's kind of your return back to the stage and our return back to the stage at the same time. So we'll figure it out together, and we're so excited again. Well, I just want to thank you for all of your time today, giving us a little background. The performance, of course, is September 25th at 7:30 at the University of Akron's E.J. Thomas Hall. Tickets are on sale. So if anyone is interested, they can go to dancecleveland.org, and we have plenty of tickets available. Monica, Robbie, thanks for talking with us, and we will see you very soon in only just a short 2 weeks.
Know. Yes,
Yeah.
can't wait. Thank you so much, Sarah.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.